Hey guys, Dave here, and welcome back to another ad-free episode of FFBE War of the Visions. It's been a while, I've been busy with work and other things, but I'm back and I've got some stuff planned out for you. So in this episode, we're going to take a look at all of the armor and accessories coming out from the White Pudding event, raid event that should have already come and has not because they changed the schedule. Hopefully that comes out next Wednesday. All the way up through the current raid event for Final Fantasy XIV on JP. So we'll cover all of those armor and accessories in depth, what units you can use them on, which versions are the most beneficial, what situations you might be able to use them on, and hopefully you can use that information to decide what's best for you, and maybe it'll give you an idea what characters you want to pull on based on what is available for them. So without further ado, let's jump in and take a look at our first accessory piece. Alright, so let's take a look at our first accessory. Here we have the jeweled ring. This should come from the Ochu challenge like it did on JP. However, you can already buy this on the shop, just FYI. Now, when I first fought it on JP, I had a maybe level 40, 50, 60 team, and then I just borrowed like a level 90 Orlando, and I was able to beat it 5 times and get my mission rewards. Maybe not all of them, but most of them. So given the fact that it was probably easier than the Iron Giant and some of the other challenges, plus the fact that we're slowly getting stronger, I don't expect it to be as challenging in perspective to what we've already had. Now moving down to the different types, you'll notice I've only listed 2 here. That's because I'm just not listing types that I don't think are worth making. Yeah. So aim and crit we have here. I think aim is decent overall, but I would probably recommend crit overall as the winner, just because the total stats are higher. You have higher hit points, and you still have 4 instead of 2. So 4 accuracy over the 2 crit. So you have an extra 2 points there as well. Now, if you're going into PvP, the accuracy might be better. But I see this mostly a PvE ring, really useful in the tower and stuff like that. But anyone who loves to do free matches or is just a completionist, you're probably going to want to go for the +5 version to get the 8 evasion. Me personally, I'm not into free matches. I just do what I need to get out of there because they give people way too long. You should have like 5 to 7 seconds to act. If you don't know your character's abilities, how far they can move and stuff, then you shouldn't even be in there because you're wasting the other person's time. That's just my opinion. So the 20% paralyze resist is really good. Now, if you are doing free matches or planning to use it for that, or maybe even arena or guild battles in the future, there's a unit coming up called Scar, who is like a lightning UR mage and has a limit break like Mediana. He can use the first turn that can possibly paralyze your units. So it would be really good in PvP like that, and again, like PvE for certain boss battles, certain enemy types, definitely for events like the tower. So yeah, it'll free up another turn for your white, green mage, cleric, etc., and help you perform better in that battle overall. So a good item. I just don't see the value in going after the +5 unless you're a completionist or you're really, really into PvP, or there's some boss mechanic in the future where evasion is important. Alright, so the next item, the ribbon, this came from the Double-Headed Dragon Challenge event. I made a previous video on how this works. If you're interested, go ahead and check that out, or just look at someone else's video. I don't care. But anyways, there's 3 different types. I believe they're all good. I think the best one here is dodge, being that you get 15 evasion plus an additional 8 for the +5 bonus for a total of 23. Now, right now you say, oh, I have the Sage's hat, it doesn't matter. Well, JP released a patch recently where the 2nd and the 3rd armor item, you still get bonuses from those. So they are stackable now on JP. So that's going to change the way that we think about weapons and armor currently. So this will be a great item to have for Katone, Venera, Shadow Lynx, and any dodge-based units in the future for the evasion. But the main reason that the ribbon came out was the addition of more stop mechanics in the arena with Agrias and Delita from the second Final Fantasy Tactics banner. And there's also some other ones that originally existed, like Katone and like Ayaka's Time Mage abilities to cast stop as well. And Katone's Limit Break also cast stop. So it's not just the new units, but they had to put something in to help resist that. And I believe when Ayaka has this on, she's at about 100% resistance, something like that. So pretty good. So again, the main thing is stop and slow resistance, which is really good, but the evasion is just like icing on top of the cake. So this is definitely a really good item to go after. But if you look down at the shield and the barrier version for, a tank to have some of these abilities as well and be able to stack their defense and spirit and have that 20 critical evasion, which is really good for a tank. I would say, if you have enough leeway, like time-wise and unit power-wise, to farm this event, I would probably go after a +5 dodge version and then maybe make like a +0 level 50 version of the shield and the barrier just to have it available for, magic or a spirit tank. Wait, that's the same thing. Like a physical or a magic tank, just to have some versatility there, or maybe just have an extra for one of your other units in case you go up against an enemy or a boss and you don't have Ayaka that's going to cast stop or slow on you and just be really annoying. So again, this is a really good item to go after, and when the event comes out, I suggest you take it seriously and at least try to get 1 +5 version of the dodge, especially if you love to do free match PvP. This is going to be excellent for you, but even if you don't, stacking this up with the Sage's Hat on those dodge units is going to be very powerful in PvE as well. You can have Katone running around the map, dodge, 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 and win, win, win. So great item. Oh my word, 20 fire resistance, 15 water resistance, 80 attack magic. Holy cow. This item's awesome. Oh wait, it comes with a couple caveats. So I don't know what this is going to be translated. It's kind of weird Japanese, Suigyo. Suisangyo is like fisheries or aquaculture, but I'm guessing it's going to be like fishery ring or something like that if you directly translate it. This is obtained on floor 30 of the second ivory tower that comes out. That JP just had that end. We have an additional week. Ours started a week later. But the stats across the board, this was basically made for the new second and third armor piece stacking stats. I'm sorry. We have high hit points, good spirit defense, attack, magic. Ooh. So the first caveat is evasion. The evasion's really bad. Okay. Now you look down to the bottom, you get, oh my gosh, 20 fire resist, 15 water. That's unheard of. It's unprecedented. That's absolutely amazing. However, the second caveat is what makes this ring like really quirky and almost like, what were they thinking? And it's the fact that only water units are able to equip this. So water URs and whatnot. So for example, the new Glacialia unit that came out, the Ice Lancer, that are Valkyrie, that a lot of people are probably going to go after because it's very strong. She will be able to use it, and it will help her, I guess, be even stronger against fire units, take almost no damage from the own water units, and do more like physical damage, I guess. But it's kind of really weird, the evasion. Now, one unit that I see this being really good for is Miranda, because she's a water unit, so she can be stronger against water, against fire. The hit points, the spirit, the defense, the attack, the magic, everything on there is going to help her out. But units other than Miranda, I really don't see too much value in putting this on. I guess if you have nothing else better to put in your accessory slot, with like a weapon or whatever, it will give you, additional damage or hit points or a little bit of defense here and there. Or maybe for certain events it could be useful. But again, a weird item. But I think Miranda will be the number one unit that this will work on. Salty Rage. Salty Rage? What? Okay, so this item here, Salty Rage, in katakana and Japanese, I'm not sure what the origin of it is. I'm assuming it would be French. But when you read that off in Japanese, it sounds like Salty Rage in English to me. So I'm just going to go with that. Very curious to see what the actual translation is going to be. Now, when we take a look at this, there's two good versions, shield and barrier. The effect is plus 20% blind resistance. Now, other than maybe like Frederica's blackout and stuff, I'm not too sure there are any other real abilities that add this. I think maybe one of the MR weapons adds this effect. And I've definitely seen some PvE mobs cast this, but it's pretty rare. I haven't really seen it used in the meta on Global or JP. Maybe it'll be useful in the future. I think it's definitely worth picking up and making. You still get the plus 8 evasion. So even if you're not going for a plus 5 to get that 8 evasion, which is negligible due to the fact that there's no like dodge version, but it will still stack with other pieces. But the thing is, this would probably be most useful on a tank unit because of the Spirit and Defense, which, by the way, they're backwards. I messed up. I'm sorry. The tanks are usually going to be minus evasion anyway due to the heavy armor and other restrictions. So kind of a strange stat choice here. I would have expected maybe another evasion version, a dodge version like the ribbon instead of a useless vital version that only has a couple more hit points. But nevertheless, it's going to come out during the Final Fantasy Tactics event. Now it does cost more. It is a regular MR item, so it's going to cost the same as other MR things, not a cheap one like the Ragnarok. But the Ragnarok will also be back during this event, so you might want to focus on that instead. So if you don't already have a couple copies of the Ragnarok, you're going to have to compete or decide which one that you want. But nevertheless, a good item in your repertoire or collection, whatever. And I think in the future, there's going to be something down the road where we're probably going to need this blind resistance. All right, Platinum Robe. I've already made a video on this in my White Pudding raid strategy guide. But by the way, we should have already gotten that on Global, but they shuffled things up with the sneaky Freyeva banner. Hopefully this coming Wednesday or the following week we will get this raid. But the raids are very taxing. It's way too much manual grinding labor, even though the gameplay itself is fun and the rewards are good. They need to make more automation there. But I'm hoping that that's not going to be back to back with the Warrior of Light raid or at the same time, because that would just be insane and a lot of people would get burnt out, I think. But anyways, back to the Platinum Robe. I believe all three versions are viable. The Vital, with the extra 205 hit points that we see here, it's going to be good for units that maybe aren't going to benefit as much from the shield or the barrier, the Spirit or Defense that you get from that, and maybe just need the hit points. Now, I know for units that can use heavy armor and whatnot, or what's her name, Whisper, units like that who have innately low hit points but have very high resistances would greatly benefit from things like this. Also, I think maybe Katone can use this, and any soldier units who can cast, what is it, Drain Force. The higher the hit points you have, the more damage that's going to do. It's solely based on hit points. It has nothing to do with your attack value. So basically, the higher the hit points, the harder it hits. But the way to counter Drain Force is a 1 level difference. It only takes a 1 level difference to counter it. The other two versions are great. This is a light armor and it's missile resistance. So giving that, the winner here, I would have to say is shield, because it's going to be put on units who are mostly weak against physical type attacks. So you get 18% there and another 10% against missile. That's a total of 28% damage reduction against missile attacks for light units, especially units like Median or whatever that are very squishy against physical attacks. this is going to be like the best in slot. So I would say shield, but the other two versions are not bad at all. So if you if you have leeway after making a +5 shield, I would definitely try to at least get a +2, 3 of the other versions. All right, so Platinum Helm. This comes from the Ifrit raid and some other future raids. I just put that because it comes back. Now this one also, all three versions are viable, and they're viable for the same reason that the Platinum Robe was, the fact that you can use it for soldier units, drain force, stuff like that. Units like Whisper, who would benefit more from hit points than from possibly some of the other stats. Instead of augmenting their weaknesses, you can augment their strengths. So you can work either way. But again, here all of the versions are good, but I would have to say that the barrier is the winner. Even with the stats stacking from the second and the third piece, it's still slightly more beneficial to have a high stat on one, since you only receive a percentage of the total on the second and third piece, with diminishing returns on that. So I mean, you're still sitting at almost 500 hit points with the shield and the barrier, which is very high. Shield is good like all around, but barrier, you can be strong against magic and slash units at the same time. So it's a very interesting spin on things, and it's kind of different from some of the armor that we've seen so far. But I would have to say that the winner on this one would be the barrier. Now this would be used mainly on a lot of units. I think like the new Lancer, Valkyrie, Dragoon units. I see it used a lot on them, and some tanks and stuff too. So this wouldn't be too bad for Engelbert either. You can get 18% magical damage reduction to help augment his minus 20% magical weakness. 10 slash resist on top of that against like Orlando teams and stuff like that. So again, all the versions are good, but I would say barrier is the number one. So I mean, you decide, but I'm going to go after barrier. All right, Armor of Light. This comes from the Final Fantasy I Warrior of Light raid event. I've also mentioned this in previous videos. I think all three versions are decent here, but the Vital, I just don't see as much value as the Platinum Armor Vitals, because you're only getting, what is it, like a 96 more instead of the 200-ish more. But, it still could be good in a certain situation. However, I'd say, the winner here has to be barrier. The whole purpose of using this armor is to get that +5 bonus, the magical resistance. And the barrier gives you 12 spirit, plus that 8 magical resistance, 20% damage reduction against magical attacks. So that basically nullifies Engelbert's weakness. You're sitting at 0 there instead of minus 20. So that's really good. Warrior Light, I think he's innately minus 5. So you would be 15 in the positive. The shield version isn't bad. 15 physical reduction, and then 14 for the magic. But I see you getting the most benefit out of this with the 7 defense, 12 spirit on there, because I believe this was made, to kind of combat the magical weakness on your tanks. But again, all three versions are good. I would say barrier is the number one best, followed by shield, and then vital. So I'm going to make a +5 barrier, and then if I have leeway, I'll try to make a +5 shield as well, or maybe 2 +5 barriers. I'm not 100% decided yet. I'll have to see how things work out, and if we get any new units, etc. But I think both versions are decent. Pick whatever works best for you. All right, Bale Bagnet. This is out now on the current Final Fantasy XIV raid on JP. And since it's a limited time event, I'm guessing it's a limited time raid as well. And just like the Warrior of Light armor that has not come back, I would expect that this would not come back either. So it'd be like a get it now or don't get it at all type deal. All three versions are good. It's very comparable in hit points, defense, and spirit to the Platinum Helm. However, the minus there is pretty severe. If you've ever leveled some of these items up, you'll know that it's pretty hard. Now we'll be getting a weapon armor raising pass, but you have to pay for that. So if you don't want to pay for it, you're free to play, or even if you're a whale and you don't want to pay for it, some of these things are going to be painful to level up. Now I did my golden armor. I got perfect defense and spirit and almost hit points, but I think some of my minuses didn't reach their max potential. So I might have like minus evasion. So that minus 8 to 16 evasion and minus 3 to 5 agility is something to really think about. Even though you get 10 pierce resistance and 25 disable resistance, becoming slower could be a bad thing. However, it can also be a good thing. Now there's two situations where it can be good. If you're a tank, for example, Engelbert, how the lower your agility is, the longer that character turn is. So Doom will take a lot longer to kill the character. If you cast Sentinel, which is a great defensive move, it will last a lot longer than a unit that's quick. So that's one advantage. And the other advantage is timing. So fast units in PvP can run out, buff, and be out in the open, and then the second unit actually gets the advantage because now the other unit is in their attack range, whereas the first unit didn't even have a chance to attack because there was nothing in range. So dropping your agility can be strategically the way to go in some situations, especially with units like Victora, Dragoon units, who rely on that unit not moving. Now in the future, they put a patch in JP where the AI will not perform a jump if it knows that the unit is going to move. But until we get that patch, we have to be cautious of that. So adjusting your agility in PvP, especially units like Mediana and Ziza who just want to like run in first all by themselves and die, dropping their agility could be a good thing. But just be careful when you're selecting the stats and whatnot. I think it's a decent piece overall. Great for that pierce resist, especially with the new Glacialia units. These spear users are kind of running rampant on JP right now. Even Laswell with his Dragoon kit is hitting like a truck. So this is a great piece to any collection. Alright, so if you've made it to the end, congratulations. I hope you've gotten something useful out of this. I hope it will help you decide what version of each armor or accessory that you'd like to go for. The other purpose I made it was so you can decide on which characters to go after based on what is or isn't available, or decide what character to not go after. For example, Ziza really hasn't gotten any love. The monk class hasn't gotten any love. No good weapons, no really good espers or vision cards yet. So we really haven't seen their true strength. So hopefully on JP, something like that comes out. So this is also to put that stuff in perspective as well, so you can prepare in what units you pull based on what's available. And on a side note, hopefully the white pudding raid is coming up next week. I'd like to open up our Discord server as a collective place where people can gather to coordinate voice raids, and hopefully have continuous active rooms where people can just announce, okay, hey, I got a raid boss, I need 3 people, this is what I'm looking for, and have everybody just join a voice channel, communicate with each other, and get more rewards, build up like a friend or a multi-guild network. That's what I'm aiming for there. I've already grabbed some people off of YouTube, some guild members, some other free match partners in there, and we have active discussions almost every day. I post news from JP in there. We post other tips that we find out. So it's a great source of information exchange, and it's also a great place in the future to coordinate raids and whatnot. So if you want to get a lot of these items here, a lot of the UR armor pieces, if not all of them, come from raids. So in order to get all those +5s and that fat loot, you're going to have to coordinate with other people. And the more you coordinate, the easier they're going to be, the faster you're going to get them, the better rewards you're going to get. So yeah, I encourage you to check out the Discord link in the description and hop on, and we'd be glad to have you. Just no trolling and no toxic talk on there. That's the only requirement. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you and collaborate with you in future raids. So again, thanks for watching. I hope to see you on another episode of FFB War of the Visions. Take care.